Hello, Manchester, and welcome once again to Ward 13. My special guest tonight is Nikki Casey, a political activist, and we're going to talk about the Koch Brothers, Americans for Prosperity, and Scott Brown.
Yeah.
But before we do, I'm going to share with you a few memories of last week. Here we were at the Joe Sullivan golf tournament, the miniature golf tournament. This is at the Rayfield Club. That's Mr. Ulrich. He was my history teacher. And there were other of my teachers there. It was a great event, very successful. Now, this is the Puerto Vallarta event. These are two old gringos, but one of the gringos is getting cut off. There's Joel Elber of Amsterdam talking very seriously with the Corona girls. Here he is with the folk dancers. And there's my friends Heidi and Gary Hamer. They were with the folk dancers too. It was a great event. This is Bill Cashin, the former Ward 10 alderman, with Bill Berry and his daughter Lauren. This was from the West Side Community Awareness Rally. That's Dr. Avard on the left. And that's the NJROTC folks from my alma mater, West High School, the Blue Knights. John, can we start with the folder, Nikki, number one? We're going to, we have a picture from the Climate March, the People's Climate March in New York, which was a great success. Of almost 400,000 people were there.
And they were only expecting 100,000.
John, can you go with those slides? Oh, that's Carol Shea Porter. I was at the she awarded medals to this true hero. His name was Armin Thibault. He was in a crack unit in not only Vietnam, but in Germany and Korea. And there we go. There's the climate march. I couldn't afford a politician, so I bought this sign.
They're for sale.
Oh, yeah, politicians are. Can we have the Nancy Drew? Oh, there we go. Now, Nikki, we're going to start talking about you. Nancy Drew.
Got me to read as a little girl.
Got you to read.
Yeah.
And you told me that once you had 13 cats.
I did. I had a cat that had kittens, and then one of those kittens got a little bit bigger, and we kept all those kittens.
You kept them all?
We did. And then one of the kittens we didn't fix our cats.
Oh.
I know. And then the other kitten had kittens, and then the grandmother helped nurse them. It was sweet. So we had 13 cats, and we lived in a duplex.
Do you realize that more than 4 cats qualifies you as a cat lady? Not quite crazy cat lady, but you're on your way.
I was like 10.
Oh, okay. So you don't have four cats now.
I don't have no cats. I have 2 dogs.
Oh, so that was actually the Crazy Cat starter kit. Was Gary, who you saw the picture of, gave that to Heidi because she's definitely a crazy cat lady material.
Good for her.
Hey, can't be beat, huh? Well, Nikki, tell me about the Koch Bros. Oh my God, your good friend Hillary.
She's not my friend.
This is, as we were talking about before the show, these alien grays, they're everywhere. I think they've infiltrated the Americans for Prosperity, and they're right here on the west side. Not in Ward 13, but in Ward 10.
It's like a disease.
In fact, I know exactly where you folks are living. Oh, yeah.
That's creepy.
Tell us about the Koch brothers.
John,
can we have the picture of the Koch brothers? There they are.
There's David and Charles Koch.
Yes.
They are billionaire brothers that run Koch Industry.
And what is Koch Industries' main means of income? Oil.
It started with their father, Fred Koch. He started the industry and passed it on to his 4 sons, and David and Charles bought it out from their 2 brothers, more like kicked them out.
Now, what was the father's name?
Fred Koch.
And he's known for what? Wasn't he involved in politics back in the 50s?
Yes, he started the John Birch Society.
He founded the John Birch Society, which conservatives like William F. Buckley considered so far out that it was a threat to the respectability of conservatism. They called Eisenhower communist. Of all people, Ike, who won the war, and who the Soviets were afraid of because they had dealt with him during World War II. And now, the John Birch Society, when I was your age, was still so far out there. But it seems to be that the Republican Party is now been seduced by its wiles.
I think one of the brothers actually left the John Birch Society because of the reputation of racism. Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. Okay.
But it's ironic because their father, Fred Koch, said that if a brown man ever became president, it would be a race war. And
really?
So why do you think they hate Obama so much? Because he's not white.
So, in other words, they only left the John Birch Society because it was, like with William F. Buckley, it wasn't respectable.
Yeah.
So what have they done? Have they created their own infrastructure of respectable...
They have dozens of grassroots organizations, think tanks. The biggest one, and the one that they're most proud of, is Americans for Prosperity.
Right.
Which is running wild in New Hampshire.
Yes, Tammy Simmons, the former state representative from Ward 10, who's running for re-election, was boasting about 4 months ago that AFP, the Americans for Prosperity, already had boots on the ground in the Squag, which is Granite Square area, going door to door.
The fact that you'd even want to be associated with them is shameful. These ideologies, which David Koch ran on the 1980 Libertarian ballot. He was for vice president, and their whole platform was get rid of Social Security, get rid of public education, get rid of the CIA.
Well, even a broken clock can be right, twice a day. So getting rid of the CIA is not so bad, but
public education.
Yeah.
They sent in. They bought out a school board in North Carolina. In, I think, 2006, they sent people in, they got elected on the school board, and they were bringing back bus segregation.
Isn't that fascinating?
Bus segregation in 2006.
Now, the John Birch Society, this was, I remember researching it because I did a lot of research into fascism and of course, and Bolshevik, the hard left, too, which are very similar. One of the things the John Birch Society was very much focused on was getting its members onto the PTA. And now you talked about libertarianism. Phil Griazzo, who used to be the alderman from Ward 10, and he was also a state rep with Tammy Simmons. He started out as a libertarian, but you could have no real success in New Hampshire as a third party.
No.
And he had a couple months ago, he had a veiled attack on Dr. Avard, who, I had a picture at the awareness rally. And Dr. Avard's a Republican. And it seems like one of the things I was forecasting is that Phil might go for a school board slot or to attack Avard to weaken him, even though he's a conservative. But as Bill Barry says, who's a Democrat, they work together very well. Him and Dr. Avard. And Dr. Avard, at a meeting we had in the ward, said, we have a team again. Because in the 4 years that Phil Griazzo was alderman, he never once talked to Jon Avard of the school board. And they were of the same party. But of course, these libertarian, I call them libertarian anarchists, aren't really of the Republican Party. It's like the old communists, before in the 30s. They bore into a party like the Democrats, and
well, that's what
they seem to have taken over the Republicans far better than the communists ever did.
When he was running in 1980, the man who ran for president under the Libertarian got 1.1% of the vote, which is the biggest amount that a Libertarian has ever gotten. But he realized his success would not line if he was a Libertarian. So then they moved to the Republican Party because that was more doable to take over. Right. The Libertarians, it's a philosophy that was thoroughly rejected by Americans. Because it's not realistic. Right. So, they have taken over the Republican Party, particularly here in New Hampshire. Yeah.
In a way that, like I said, the lefts never did of the Democrats, because in the left there were liberals, like called Americans for Democratic Action, that actually fought the communists over the party. One of the great ironies of the Red Scare, post-World War II Red Scare, is these FDR New Deal liberals who had fought the communists tooth and nail were tarred as commies and blacklisted. But the Republicans have just seemed to have ceded the party to, this Bill O'Brien radical faction.
Well, I think if anything, all of this is backfiring, because for 40 years they've been working on this. How can the rich conquer the government? So there's no regulation, no, taxes for them. But now people are waking up to realizing that all of these bills that they think are pro-people are really pro-corporation.
Right. It's about, we find out, with the climate march, it's not so much that they have any real opinion about global warming or climate change. It's just they don't want any restrictions on oil, on the consumption of oil and fossil fuels, because it'll hurt their profits.
Yeah. Oh, if they could own the sun, then solar energy would be everywhere. But they can't. That's their income. And if the Keystone Pipeline gets built, the Koch brothers are estimated to take in $100 billion.
$100 billion.
$100 billion.
Jeez, a couple of $3-4 billion they have is not enough.
Oh my God, I think their company is worth, their conglomerate is worth $100 billion. So just add it up.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, the great writer, famously said, "The rich are different than you and I." And Ernest Hemingway, his erstwhile friend, said, "Yeah, they have more money." But the more I have learned about the super rich is they are greedy. They're never satisfied. Never.
I think there are rich people who aren't greedy and who are very generous and intelligent
Bill
enough.
Gates, look how much money he's given. How much the Koch brothers have given, except for their political.
The irony is they go into towns and build their factories, pollute the water, and then they leave because they've been caught red-handed. One of the Koch brothers had prostate cancer, and they give money all the time to cancer research.
Yeah.
But they're giving people cancer left and right.
Oh, jeez.
And then I think both of the brothers went to MIT, and they get
They had engineering degrees.
Yeah, they're very intelligent.
Engineering.
They're really intelligent, but they're malignant sociopaths with so much money, and it creates destruction.
And that probably comes from their father and that hideous reactionary ideology.
He used to make the brothers, beat each other up to teach them how to be tough.
Oh, geez. That goes far beyond Joe Kennedy having the boys playing touch football,
It is a little bit different.
Tell us about ALEC. What is ALEC? Even I can't explain what ALEC is.
American Legislative Exchange Council. So it's all of these big companies together putting money into other groups, so extending it.
Just not was it founded by the Koch brothers, or did
no,
they give seed money? They're
part of it. They're members. And so what they do is they recruit politicians from different states and then give them bills to represent or sponsor. And ALEC is a huge climate denier. They bring in fake scientists. They have meetings every year to teach how global warming is actually really good for people. Yes, this is real. There are members, ALEC members. I don't know which ones because I don't think the list has been updated in New Hampshire though. So. And
do they craft model legislation and then push it through these Republican or they could buy anybody from either party?
Yeah, model legislation. I think.
Because when I'm running for office as a Democrat and I signed a pledge, people ask, "Are you going to support ALEC?" I don't think it was a pledge, but I said, "No, not at all." After
the climate rally in New York City on Sunday, big members of ALEC dropped out because of their.
Do you know who?
Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Yelp. I think we're waiting on eBay to drop them.
Okay.
And that's a huge blow to them. That's huge. And now people are seeing the negative impact that this monster that big corporations created is having an effect.
Jon, are you out there? I hear the talking. Can you show us the slide after the Koch brothers, A Maze of Money? And this is the Koch brothers. It's not it's more than tens of millions of dollars they've pumped into American politics, haven't they?
Oh God!
It's just incredible the amount of foundations they've seeded, like the Cato Institute, which
is a climate denier too.
Right.
They
climate change denier. All for the simple fact, as we get, that any type of carbon tax, any limiting of carbon emissions is going to cost the petroleum industry money, and the people that service the petroleum industry. Because the Koch brothers, I believe, made their fortune servicing, gas and petroleum gathering and oil field services, kind of like a super Halliburton.
Yeah.
We'll get to that to another show. I can tell you some stories about Halliburton. They were going around the former Yugoslavia in 1998, recruiting soldiers for professional armies. They offered my brother a six-figure income to leave the Air Force, and because he was an expert in logistics, and come work for them in their private army. He refused, but a lot of people do. We won't get into Dick Cheney today.
Please don't.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Again?
Yeah, this is what you call exciting TV. It's Heidi Hamer. Heidi, is that you?
Oh my God.
We're on TV now. Nikki and I were talking about. We were just talking about you. In fact, we have the crazy cat lady starter kit that Gary gave you for your birthday. So you're gonna meet? Can you meet me at City Hall at 12? Gary doesn't have to know.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay, we'll see what we can do. I'll see you later. Bye. Hey, when you get to our age, Heidi just turned the double nickel, and I'm 1 month younger than her. You get a certain license to behave somewhat irresponsibly.
I don't think.
Whereas you, as a young person, you have to be very, your generation should be acting like gentlemen and ladies.
I don't think I've ever been referred to as a lady.
You have to earn your license to go wild. Well, we don't have the Koch brothers timeline because...
I know.
Well, the problem we have is, folks, and you probably noticed it on the Amsterdam show yesterday, when they're showing the new intro, you make stuff and it's 16:9, the modern... And our equipment here, because Ted Gatz has decided to take most of the money that Comcast gave for public broadcasting, our equipment is 4:3. They call that the Academy ratio, the one we all grew up with. So you get this, you'll see things like, it'll have Pat Arnold from there, and it says, Add Arnold or something for because it gets cut off. Because once again, they give the money for the production, but the city decides to keep the money themselves. So we have this ancient equipment.
It does its job.
So you have any more to say? What's the connection between Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers started Americans for Prosperity. They seeded it with their money. They act like they're not a PAC. A specific PAC in that, we're like nonpartisan or something, which is a falsehood.
Right. We can talk about the Tea Party and their connection.
What is the Tea Party and AFP connection?
Well, the Tea Party was supposedly this anti-government grassroots movement. It spurred out of nowhere, which is a complete lie.
Right.
The Koch brothers have been found funding it. And then they came out with a statement. They're like, we actually had nothing to do with it. So now they're distancing themselves from all of these crazy people that they put into office.
Well, the Tea Party got Tammy Simmons once again and Phil Griazzo. Well, Phil had won in 2009 as alderman, with this campaign of calumny against George Smith, the alderman who was dying. But they finally got elected after all these years. These people run all the time. They never give up. Tammy and him got elected in the Tea Party wave. They had this huge 298 out of 400 seats. not all Tea Partiers, and then they all got swept out again. So you're saying they're only probably distancing themselves because the Tea Party
Has a
is
bad
toxic.
rep. Yeah.
And now Tammy and company have rebranded themselves the Liberty Alliance.
Isn't
and,
it-
And with the AFP torch on, like Eileen Landis
Yeah.
has the torch, George Lambert on his bizarre killer robot signs.
Well,
has
now
the torch.
that's going to backfire as well, because now people know, again, it's the same group, different name.
Right.
How many times can they change what party or what their movement is?
But you have to educate people. That's why you're here.
I know. I want people to know. They're evil. And it's interesting, being that the Koch brothers they want to abolish public education. And I think we said a couple episodes ago, Tammy wanted to get rid of preschool.
Preschool, right.
Oh, okay.
Well, that had the beneficial effect that we don't have to arm kindergarten teachers.
Isn't it? I just feel like it's common sense to educate people, to put people in school. That's an investment in your future.
Well, that is the New England had public schools since the time the colonists came from England. The Puritans believed that you had to read in order to be. You read the Bible yourself, so they had public education. Around the year 1800, literacy in Connecticut was 98% amongst males, and very high amongst women too, and almost the same in Massachusetts, levels that were never seen again. So, yeah, that's a New England tradition, public education.
And what would happen to society if we didn't have it?
Well, anarchy.
Oh.
And then you would have... See, the thing about what are these people about? You think that, because you're a human being and you think rationally, you think that they're rational.
They're not.
But it's what the fascist has always been. They disrupt society because what they're interested in is power. And then they use the power to, more money and stuff and self-aggrandizement.
And then they brainwash people who don't have common sense, like
or
people
fear.
who would align
people
themselves.
Are fearful.
Yeah. And the Tea Party is all about pumping fear into people. The government's going to take your guns away.
Yeah.
Public education's bad. People on food stamps should be shamed.
Teachers are bad.
It's teachers' fault. Yeah.
Oh, the unions.
It's
but for the
sick.
unions, we'd be we'd be working like a 58-hour week, 6 days a week, like our grandparents. Well, my grandparents.
Oh, and forget minimum wage.
Right. Well,
you could hire more people.
They did away with the minimum wage in New Hampshire. The irony is about their policies, their right-to-work law. Right to work. What an abomination. We won't even have to get into that. But it has the exact opposite effects of what they're pitching to the people. It actually makes the state poorer. Mm-hmm. Let's not even get into that.
So,
what about Scott Brown and AFP? I've heard that they poured $2 million into ads for Scott Brown.
Yeah, one ad alone, it's already been played again.
Could we see some of the Scott Brown slideshow, John? We only got 3 minutes left, so... Oh, time goes by fast, huh?
It does.
Especially when you only have a half hour. Oh, my God. The irony about... Thank God we got the War 13 covering him up. There's a Tea Party here, shocked. The thing about Scott Brown is Cosmo came out and endorsed Jean Shaheen. Fancy that, huh? There he is. He was a male model. You can't see it. It has all his stats, and he has excellent hands.
He does have nice
I'm not going to
hands.
tell you what he uses the hands for.
Oh, okay.
Because this is a family show and a family hour. Oh, this is
I'm
over near
thankful now.
Kelly Falls. The kids there did not like the Scott Brown sign, and they flattened it.
Nice.
But Scott Brown, our favorite carpetbagger. I was down in Massachusetts 2 years ago. He was 8 points up. There he is, our favorite carpetbagger. He was 8 points up, and then he lost to Elizabeth Warren. This was just taken a couple of days ago by my friend. They have Scott Brown. It's a Massachusetts
and he's repeating
tag.
the same slogans he used in Massachusetts.
But he tends to screw up. He can't remember where he's at. He sometimes... What do you think about this stuff? The union leaders really been touting him ever since Boeing had that full-page color ad in the paper. And he's touting his foreign policy experience. What do you think? Do you think that you can really be an effective senator and an effective foreign negotiator with these connections with kings and queens?
No.
No?
No. You can't.
Jeez, you don't
He's
believe
just-
in monarchy?
He's just a mouthpiece. I really don't think there's much going on up there.
Well, the funny thing is, when you run the thing about him being a male model, is I remember when Romney announced for the New Hampshire primary, it was in December of 2011, and Kelly Ayotte was there. And I'm looking at these two beautiful people, and it just struck me a metaphor. It was as if two mannequins at Macy's had suddenly come alive, and, you know, they'd escaped Macy's. And the thing was not that they could talk and move around and everything. It's just that, you know, here are two mannequins pretending that they're people. Well, Nikki, you have 1 minute, and it's all yours. Say what you would like to the city of Manchester.
Please realize that the Tea Party is now Americans for Prosperity. It is the same people, same ideas, same beliefs, and it has no ground of actually helping better lives. It's total destruction, and they're getting elected, and they are ruining this country.
And they've also rebranded themselves as, in New Hampshire, the AFP as this Liberty Alliance.
It's all the
And
same thing.
they've
All
actually-
the same thing.
They actually infiltrated the Democratic Party now. Steve Valancourt was on, and he was giving endorsements with Joe Kelly Lavasser's show, and he endorsed Elizabeth Edwards, the Democrat Tea Party, Dan Garthway, Tammy Simmons' better half and running mate, one of the stalwarts of the Free State movement. You know, we wonder what these endorsements have in common. Free State. I wouldn't be surprised
I'm sure eventually
that they're
it'll,
financed by AFP.
it'll come out. I'm
Well,
sure.
thank you very much,
Thanks for
Nikki.
having
It was
me.
great having you these 3 weeks.
Yes, thank you so much.
Unfortunately, you're starting a new career, but maybe we can get you as a correspondent on the show in some tape segments. Well, Manchester, it's that time again. Thank you for visiting Ward 13. We'll see you next week. Have a good week.